We have come to the end of the first module and now we are starting on the second module. In the second module, we start looking at market structures. We will start by understanding a market structure which many of you are familiar with already, that of monopoly. Right? What's a monopoly? A monopoly is a market where there is a single seller. Right? There could be various reasons because of why there is a monopoly. Right? One reason could be because there is a government law. For example, the government might decree that only a given producer, a public sector company for example, would be the only producer of a certain commodity in the country. Or there could be natural monopolies where it is actually efficient for only one person, only one firm to produce all the output. Or there could be entry barriers and so on and so on. Right. So today we understand price output determination under monopoly. Okay? Right. All of you know the simple idea in monopoly, that is, for a monopolist, if this is the price, right, this is the demand curve, this is also the average revenue, okay? This is the marginal cost, okay? This is the average cost, and that is the, this is the marginal revenue, and suppose this is the marginal cost, marginal revenue and marginal cost. In equilibrium, monopoly output is in equilibrium when marginal cost equals marginal revenue, right? So you call this output monopoly quantity produced, you call this output, you call this price the monopoly price, right? All of you familiar with this diagram? Where marginal cost equals marginal revenue and so on. Okay. Now, why are we unhappy with monopoly?
Sir, the price is found from the demand curve.
Pardon? Oh yes, the price of course comes from the demand curve. You're right. Sorry, that's right. That's right. I'm sorry. Yeah. So the price of course will be here. Right? The price of course will be here. Right? That's how the price would be. Okay? So that's P. Now why do you think monopoly is bad? Why do you think we dislike monopoly? Yeah? Why do you think we should detest monopoly? Why do you think, is monopoly good or bad? Bad? Why is it bad?
Because optimal allocation of resources it will not happen.
That is not necessarily true. This is a difference between a monopoly and a perfectly competitive market. Just think of a perfectly competitive market. This is the demand curve. So this is the same curve as the demand curve. This is the supply curve, which is the marginal cost curve in a competitive economy. So where will be the competitive output? QC and PC, right? Okay, this is the demand curve, supply curve. So SC, right? SC and DC, SC is the supply curve, right? Okay, fine. I'm sorry, what are we doing? This is the demand curve, this is the supply curve, right? This is the demand curve, this is the supply curve. Sure? The demand curve is the supply curve and that's the price. Okay? Now, in this picture, this is a marginal cost curve. So, in a competitive economy, QC would have been the quantity produced, right? And PC would have been the price. QC would have been the quantity produced and PC would have been the price. So, what is the issue? Why is PCQC superior to PMQM?
Because prices are lower and the quantity sold are more.
Yeah, but so what?
So there is optimum resource allocation.
No. What is happening here is, you see, whenever, look at this. Okay. So, how much is it costing the monopolist to produce QM? This much, right? Right? Okay. Whereas, how much is the consumer valuing it at? PM. So there is a gap between how much a consumer is valuing the output at the margin, right? The marginal valuation is PM, and the marginal cost is only actually MC1. So there is this gap, right? Sure? Which means, what does that mean? If consumers value something more than what it costs to produce it at the margin, what should you then do? What do you think in equilibrium you should have? In equilibrium, what it costs to produce something, if you want to maximize efficiency of the transaction, right? Because for every trade, there are gains from trade, right? So for example, if you have lots of apples, and suppose I have lots of oranges, I would want some apples, you would want some oranges, so you would start to trade them. Right? When will you continue to trade? As long as the margin, every time you give up an apple, your marginal utility of apples goes up, right? Because you value the remaining apples more and more, right? So on the margin, you will stop trading when the marginal utility to you of the orange that you're getting is the same thing as the marginal utility of the apple that you're giving up. Right? Before that point, if you value the orange that you're getting more on the margin than the apple that you're giving up, does it make sense to stop trade? Suppose the point is such that, suppose you start this trade and at a point in trade you realize that you value what you're getting, the marginal value of an orange that you're getting is more than the marginal value of apples that you have. Does it make sense to stop the trade or continue this trade? Continue this trade, right? If you stop the trade there, you will be inefficient. You will not be able to benefit from the gains from trade, right? You should stop trade only at that point where you have got sufficiently many oranges and given up sufficiently many apples so that at the marginal cost of apples and oranges is identical, right? The marginal benefit that you get, the marginal valuations of apples and oranges are the same. Is this clear? Right. Now tell me one thing. In this diagram, so let me maybe redraw this diagram so that we can see the pictures better. Let me redraw this diagram. So suppose I have average revenue, you have marginal revenue, and you have say marginal cost. I am drawing a simple diagram. Okay? Marginal cost. Okay? In equilibrium, what is the monopoly quantity? QM. What's the monopoly price? PM. Right? Price and quantity. Right? Okay? Whereas, in a perfectly competitive economy, what would you have? What would you have had? You would have had, this would have been the, right? Sure? Okay. Now, in a perfectly competitive economy, what would have been the consumer surplus? The consumer surplus would have been all the area above the demand curve, right? What would have been the producer surplus? All the area below the demand curve, so all the area with this horizontal line, right? So this area plus this area. So if I call this A, if I call this B, and if I call this C, then the area of this triangle ABC would have been the total surplus to society. This is what the consumer surplus would have been. Consumer surplus. This is what the producer surplus would have been. In the monopoly, what do we have in monopoly? In monopoly, we have this. Right? So what is the consumer surplus under monopoly? This triangle, right? The one with the blue dash. Consumer surplus under monopoly. What is the producer surplus? What is producer surplus? this whole area, right? Sure?
Above.
Above, right? So this is right? So this area. Sure? So this would be the
Surplus.
produces surplus under monopoly. So what is the difference between the two surpluses? Yeah? So if this is B, if this is D, this is E. The area of the triangle BDE is the extent to which total surplus is lower under monopoly. Right? BDE is the extent to which the total surplus is lower under monopoly related to a competition. Right? Okay? This is called deadweight loss of monopoly. Right? This is called deadweight loss of monopoly. So what this means is that purely from the gains of trade argument, monopoly realizes fewer gains to society as a whole compared to a perfectly competitive economy. Is this clear? Sure? Right? So and how do you intuitively interpret this? See, in a perfectly competitive economy, trade is continuing till price equals marginal cost. Right? Trade is continuing till this is how much it costs. The marginal cost gives you how much it costs society to produce something. The demand curve gives you how much the society values the marginal unit. Right? As long as the demand curve is above the marginal cost curve, it corresponds to all those points where the valuation of society at the margin of a commodity is higher than the marginal cost of that commodity. Marginal cost of that commodity, right? Okay, and therefore, as long as that's there, it makes sense to produce more. Right? Ultimately, if the valuation at the margin of apples is more than what it costs on the margin to produce apples, you should produce more apples. The gap is the benefit from trade, right? The gap is the benefit, right? Okay, so competition ensures that equality holds. So perfect competition is efficient allocation, right? Whereas in a monopoly, the trade stops earlier. Right? In a monopoly, the trade stops earlier, much earlier than where this point is achieved, right? And therefore, you actually have deadweight loss of monopoly. So monopoly essentially has deadweight loss, right? One type of monopoly, not all types of monopolies have deadweight losses, because you could argue that actually, if this monopolist was so smart that he knew about how much every person was willing to pay, how much each and every person was willing to pay for the last unit. So he would say the first person, he would sell the commodity at this price, the second person, he would sell the commodity at this price, the third person, he would sell the commodity at this price, fourth person, he would sell it at this price, the fifth person, he would sell it at this price, the sixth person, he would sell it at this price, and the last person would be sold at the competitive price. Right? Which would mean the only difference would be that there will be no consumer surplus. All the surplus is the producer's surplus, but the price and quantity would be the same as in a competitive economy. So actually, if you have a fully informed monopolist, you don't have any deadweight loss. If you have a fully informed monopolist, the monopolist knows the buying and the willingness to pay of every consumer, then you don't really have any deadweight loss in monopoly. There is no loss of efficiency in monopoly. But that's an unrealistic assumption. Right? In reality, we are going to assume that the monopolists know everything about what each buyer is willing to pay. Right? And therefore, in general, for those kinds of monopolists, unless we impose really strict and unrealistic information assumptions, you're going to have a deadweight loss in monopoly. Is argument clear? In fact, what do you do what do you say to the phenomenon where a monopolist charges a different price to each consumer? Price discrimination. Right? So here we are really assuming that if a monopolist can do perfect price discrimination, then there is no deadweight loss of monopoly. But the monopolist can extract all the surplus. There is no consumer surplus. Sure? So maybe consumer surplus arises because monopolists are not perfectly informed about how much each person is willing to pay. Right? Okay. Now let's have a formal mathematical treatment of this. Okay, let's have a formal mathematical treatment of all this. So I'll first make some simplifying assumptions. Okay, I'll make some simplifying assumptions. So the demand curve faced by the monopolist is called the inverse demand curve really, is equal to 20 minus 2. Okay? The cost curve is ten plus Q. Okay? 10 plus Q. Right? So what is marginal cost? Q. Right? Because it is the derivative of C with respect to Q. Right? Which is Q. Okay, derivative C with respect to Q, please, which is Q. Right? Okay? Now, what is profits for the monopolist? Profits equals total revenue minus total cost. Yeah?
So yeah, I'm fundamentally confused with that. It's 10 plus Q.
Yeah.
So derivative of that should be 0 plus 1, right?
The derivative should actually be 1, no? Yeah. Right? Derivative should be equal to 1. Perfectly, right? Derivative should be equal to 1. Unless I make it Q square or something, you're not you're correct. So derivative TC by TQ is equal to 1. Right? So marginal cost is equal to 1. Is this clear? Thanks for the time. Marginal cost is equal to 1. Okay. Now profits is total revenue minus total cost. What is total revenue? P into Q. Right? So total revenue is equal to 20Q minus 2Q square. Right? Oh. So which means profits are equal to, which means profits are equal to 20Q minus 2Q square
Plus Q. It's C0 10 plus Q.
minus 10. Right? Sure? This is what? So I have minus 2Q square minus 10. This is pi. Now what do you have to do? You have to differentiate pi with respect to Q. You have to differentiate pi with respect to Q. So if you differentiate pi with respect to Q, what do you get?
19 minus 4Q.
4Q is equal to 0. Right? Or (19 upon 4), which is what? 4.2? How much is 19 upon 4?
Not 4.2.
4.7. 19 upon 2 is 4.75. So Q is 4. So equilibrium quantity is 4.75. Right? You realize that what you've really done is we have set marginal cost equal to marginal revenue. Because TR is TC minus, it's TC, the total profits is nothing but TR minus TC. So if you differentiate everything with respect to Q, then you get the derivative of total cost with respect to quantity, derivative of total with respect to quantity. So your marginal cost equals marginal revenue. Marginal cost equals marginal revenue. Okay? So Q is equal to 19 by 4 is equal to 4.75. Okay? 4.7. Yeah, please wait. So Q is equal to 4.75. What would be price?
Price P
What is the demand curve? 20 minus
20 minus
2. So price will be is equal to 20 minus 2 into 4.75. 10.5. Yeah? What is 4.75 into 2? 9.5. So price is 10.5. huh? Okay, price is 10.5. Now, what would be the marginal cost? In equilibrium, what would the marginal cost be? 1. Right? Okay. Equilibrium marginal cost will be 1. What would be total profits? Total profits will be total revenue. So in equilibrium, the maximized profits will be total revenue minus total cost. Okay? Is equal to what's total revenue? What is P?
P is 10.5
Into what is quantity?
4.7
Minus what is total cost?
10 plus
Minus 10 plus
4.7 4.7
75. Okay? 4.75. Sure? Which is what?
35.125.
So if you multiply all this and get 35.125 approximately. Right? This is the total profits in equilibrium. Now suppose I were to calculate the deadweight loss of this monopoly. How would you do it? See, deadweight loss, let's look at it graphically. Okay, let's look at it graphically. In fact, this is a really a bit of an interesting program, right? Because you have the price on this axis. What's the demand curve? 10 minus 20 minus Q. So the demand curve is like this, okay? Falling in Q, right? 20 minus Q. What is the marginal cost? What is marginal revenue? What is the equation for marginal revenue? If you differentiate the total with respect to Q, you get the marginal revenue. So what is total revenue? Total revenue is 20Q minus 2Q square is total revenue. So differentiate total revenue with respect to Q.
20 minus 4Q.
You get 20 minus 4Q. So the marginal revenue curve would start from here and be twice as steep as the total revenue curve, because the slope of the total revenue curve is 2, slope of the marginal revenue curve is 4, minus 4, right? Okay. So you have the marginal revenue curve. This is the average revenue curve. Right? What's marginal cost? 1. 1, right? So marginal cost will be a curve like this. 1. So this is the point where marginal cost equals marginal revenue. How much is this? Quantity is a monopoly quantity. 4.75. If you put this up, right? And if you came here, this would be the monopoly price.
10.5
10.5 is the monopoly price. So what is the deadweight loss? The point at which the marginal cost curve cut the marginal revenue line is this. This will be the competitive quantity. Competitive price will be 1. Right? So the area of this triangle would be the deadweight loss. Now how do you calculate this? Right? We want the area of this triangle. How do you find the area of this triangle? How do you find the area of a triangle? Half base into height. What is the height? 10.5 minus 1. Right? So this is 9.5. How do you find this? How do you find QC? Because you want this length as well. No? So how do you find QC? QC is the point where, what is the criteria for QC? Where marginal cost equals average revenue. Right. So at this point, you know 20 minus 2q is equal to marginal cost q. 1, right? Marginal cost equal to 1, sorry. So marginal cost equal to 1, right? 20 minus 2q. And so what do I have? 19 is equal to 2q, or q is equal to 19 by 2, which is how much? 9.5. 19 by 2? 9.5. Right? So this now we know is 19.5, right? Sure? This is 19.5, isn't it? Sorry, 9.5. Of course 9.5. Yeah, is equal to 9.5. Yeah? Right? So, what would this area be? This area would be half into base, right? Which is 9.5 minus 4.75.
Sir.
This